Unmuted.
Call to order this special council meeting for the city of Yamhill, Sunday, April 20th, 2025 at 5:02 p.m. Can we get a roll call, please?
Featherston here.
Pesky here.
Corrigan here.
Kent here. Karen here.
Public comment. Yamhill encourages all citizens to comment on any city business. This is not a dialogue platform. Comments shall be limited to 3 minutes. If you needed a special accommodation or special time, you can always contact Angie in advance, our city recorder in advance of the meeting. Do we have anybody that would like to speak for public comment?
There's no one in the room. Anyone online wanting to make public comment, please raise your hand or press *9. I have no hands raised.
Thank you. Moving on from public comment, unfinished business. To consider discussion regarding the legal counsel memo discussed on the April 15th, 2025 executive session under ORS 192.660F. Was there any counselor that needed to make further comment on that or further discussion? No?
Do we need to discuss it like for the record, or are we just here to make a decision?
I think
Like,
I think because council discussed in executive session,
okay,
and then that would be protected, I believe that we should just continue with the vote that we decided to postpone if council's ready to make that vote. And I think that we owe it to the citizens of Yamhill to have a brief statement after the fact. If, regardless of how the vote goes. Does that seem reasonable? Andrew, does that seem? Sorry, our city recorder.
okay,
All right, so if we're not going to have discussion.
I mean, I guess I have, just to like, kind of, I know we already talked about it, but as far as options go for balancing the budget, I am still in favor of half of what we talked about. But I prefer to still pursue a loan versus layoffs. Just thinking about it more since our meeting, I think that the costs associated with not having a city administrator, I think some of that is intangible, so it's hard to measure, and I don't have like the hard numbers as far as like loans and stuff go, so I don't know what that is. So I mean, I don't have a lot of hard evidence to back it, but I just think that the costs associated with laying off a city administrator, because you have to pay, there is a payment, correct? Versus whatever an interest rate might be. And then the costs of finding a new one, training, onboarding and all of that stuff. I just feel, I don't know, I still like a loan instead. But regardless of what route we go, I completely understand and I'll be on board with.
Did we want to delve into loans at this point in time? Is there anybody else that was?
I don't think we can afford a loan
Bad idea.
personally. I mean,
Martin.
I don't agree with letting her go. But I don't agree with a loan either. That's like I said last time, robbing Peter to pay Paul. And that's, we're in up to our waist at this point. I'm seriously irritated at how it got to this point. Not only as a council member, but as a resident of this city.
I would agree with you wholeheartedly on that last bit.
So. I mean, I totally understand where Tim's coming from. I really do.
I think we're all there. I think that we would all love to find a better, reasonable option.
And I'm concerned that if she's not here, the oversight, that if you're going to take that on at this point, for now, for short term, like I say, because you've got your own business, I think you're the prime person to do it. Which, you know, I'm sure nobody's happy with.
That should be
You.
probably something that we save for, after a vote, because we don't know how that vote goes.
Yeah, I know.
So. Lungs. Council.
If it was a short-term thing and we knew that we were getting more money, you know, next budget cycle or something, but we don't, right? And so there's no foreseeable change in our income coming in, or we're gonna have the ability to pay back a loan or something. So it's just going in the hole significantly is not, doesn't seem reasonable to me.
What I guess I forgot to mention that I saw it as like buying this extra time and having that extra person to find the additional revenue to get us, help get to help
Back on
repay
track.
that loan and also get on track. So there is an assumption that that is possible.
So. I think, yeah, I mean, in a perfect world, that would be awesome. Like, that would be amazing. The unfortunate thing is I'm not seeing much in the way of horizon that has a program or a revenue stream that will be new to Yamhill, that will be significant enough to overcome budgetary forecasting.
So in regards to the budget, so what kind of revenue, ongoing revenue would we do or have to get out of the hole in a relatively short period of time? Does anybody know what that would be?
Are you talking for the upcoming budget year?
Yeah.
So that is information that won't be released until Tuesday.
Okay,
So what we have and what's been made available to us is, was the email the city administrator sent all of
Right.
us that had the budgetary forecasting.
right, okay,
So that's the one number that we have. And that number comes due.
and that's not,
It's not a great number,
no,
which is again, that number is what triggers this meeting.
right,
And it's unfortunate. And again, before we have this vote, I would like just to state for the record that the vote that we're likely about to have has absolutely zero things to do with performance, personality, anything else with our city administrator. This is simply a budgetary concern based on budgetary forecasts that nobody has found a way around. It's horribly unfortunate.
well, it's not unfortunate in my opinion, I'd have a much different word for it, but,
Well,
Somebody made an error. Somebody
oh, big time,
put a significant amount of money that was short-term for 70 years, put it into the wrong spot, got added to the wrong column, made everybody in the city think that we have a lot more money than we do. And that money's no longer coming in. That's a significant decrease. So all these things that were planned and forecasted for, we can't afford.
So I would recommend, and this is aside from our current discussion or addition to probably, but regardless of how this vote goes and regardless of how we move forward as a city, we should have a bit of investigation into what went wrong here. Not necessarily to hang somebody high, but to guarantee that this never happens to this town again.
right,
This is unnecessary. This is a self-inflicted wound,
mhm. 'Cause, 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 'c
Any more discussion on loan alternatives to the vote? I will reluctantly ask for a motion.
I'll do it. I move to terminate the employment agreement between the city and Shelley Reimer under section 3.3, not for cause termination, with the effective date of termination to be April 20th, 2025. Can I get a second? Second.
Can we get a vote, please?
Featherston, I.
Asking nay.
Kend, I.
Karen, nay.
Corrigan, aye.
The date was supposed to be today.
Mhm.
Okay.
Terrible. So if council decides to terminate this contract, we have some housekeeping. And since we have, we do. First order of business would be, we have a budget that comes out on Tuesday. The city administrator was the budget officer and will no longer be the budget officer. Council needs to appoint somebody to be the budget officer so that we can move forward with that meeting. Announcing a conflict of interest. The person that served in that capacity last year is our finance manager. And so I would recuse myself from this portion of discussion and turn the meeting over briefly to our council president, Tim Askey, to continue the discussion about replacing a budget officer. And I'll be stepping away from the table.
Can we still ask you questions that you might know?
What's that?
Who was the budget officer last year?
The finance manager.
Oh, that's right. Okay, that's. I couldn't remember if it was Ross or. Okay.
Any
So what do you
volunteers?
guys think about, we can still appoint Kara. Right?
She's probably the best choice, yes.
Any discussions about that? Is there anyone else on the budget committee that
Well, we're all on the budget committee, so we should all be
Yeah.
there, right? So.
but council appoints the budget officer, I believe.
I have no problem appointing her. She did it before.
Yeah. I agree.
And not knowing what caused the issues before, I think we all need to be very diligent on double checking things. Just to make sure.
All right, can I make a motion? Since we, what?
We want,
Can I get a motion?
sure. I move to appoint Kara Corrigan as the city's budget officer effective immediately.
I second the motion.
And a vote?
Featherston, aye.
Ask yeah.
Kend, I.
Karen, I.
Welcome back.
Thank you. Wonderfully done.
Thank you.
Okay. We have one other thing that we would need to discuss, well, coming up next. The charter for the city of Yamhill requires to have a city administrator, loosely, the city administrator, or we would need to appoint someone from council to serve effectively to sort of fill that city administrator role temporarily while we get through into the budget process. And we can identify potential line items that would, allow for the hiring of an interim or whatever that might look like as soon as possible.
An interim city administrator, is that what you're saying?
So we would have to appoint a city, interim city administrator, which we currently don't necessarily have the option for one, as it would be a compensated position. Or council can act in that capacity. So
As a whole,
it's been suggested by our legal counsel, the city's attorney, that it should be one human from the council. So that way we don't have to have public meetings on every decision that has to get made. That sort of thing,
So that's where you potentially could step in,
for the shortest period of time as humanly possible,
right,
please.
right,
My thought would be whoever it is that we appoint today, that should be interim with a end date being the May count, then is it the May?
May 14th.
May 14th council meeting. And we can make decisions at that point with more knowledge than what we have today on where we stand
financially,
financially, or if something comes to the surface that becomes a clear and present sort of future for us moving forward.
okay. Because that would hopefully enlighten everybody after the budget meeting as to where potentially we can make cuts or
Mhm.
generate more revenue. Because I
Mhm.
have some huge ideas.
But well, because we're gonna need all of those.
Yeah, well, hopefully,
Focus them real quickly
Everybody's
on the
on
general
board.
fund. I would like everybody, just for the record as well, to indicate that the city is doing well financially, with the exception of our general fund. I don't want anybody to think for even a moment that the city's in jeopardy of, with the exception of the general fund, which is significantly
right,
forecast to be short.
right.
Do you guys want to have any discussion on what that looks like moving forward?
I think that the interim just until the May meeting might even be a little bit too short. That's really only like a few weeks, you know, so.
We would have an
it may have
opportunity to just continue that on.
It may just have to continue on for another month or so. But yeah, I'm fine with that. Makes sense. Questions?
Don't we just revert back to the council form of government because the administrator is appointed, he can appoint and remove.
So at this point, the administrator's been removed.
No, but doesn't that just go back to the way it was before with the council?
Like at this very moment, it's a council form of government. So what would happen is we're basically looking to appoint a person on council, or if there was another person, just for a very short period of time as we get into budget. That can handle the day, help with the day-to-day operations and be able to direct staff and so forth without having to convene meetings potentially on the regular. Yes.
My only question is about is if it would be a conflict of interest if you're a direct supervisor.
So actually, the structure of the office, as I understand it, is that staff is supervised by
Okay.
our office manager. And then the office manager, if I understand correctly, is supervised currently by our chief of police, or is he just acting in a
No,
installation capacity? Okay, so that is the chain of command, that office staff reports directly to Kim Steele, our office manager. And then she reports directly to our chief of police. And then our chief of police reports to council currently on all office staff. Therefore, I don't directly oversee
Right,
any relation.
Two buffers, I think that's adequate, especially for a short term.
It was actually the layer of buffers that was approved by legal when, I believe, when I was elected mayor. As at that point, it was our city administrator directly overseeing our office manager, who then directly oversaw staff. So that, I believe, there was a change made by email, I believe. Is that right, chief?
That's correct.
Okay. Does anybody else want to throw their hat in or make discussion?
Not in regards to that.
Do we have a motion?
I move to appoint Shay Corrigan as the interim city administrator effective immediately.
Oh,
Oh, wait.
we're,
It's the one below that,
Yep.
right? I scratch that. I move to delegate to Mayor Corrigan the council administrative authority under chapter 2, section 6 of the city charter, and with all the authority granted by chapter 1.28 of the code of ordinances effective on immediately 4/20/2025.
I second the motion.
we have vote.
Featherston, aye.
SKI.
Oregon abstain.
Kend, I.
Karen, I.
To the best of my knowledge, this, I think that we've accomplished what we've needed to accomplish, considering the outcome of the vote. Is there anybody that would have anything else to add at this point?
Not until the budget meeting, I guess. I don't have a lot to say. How long is that meeting gonna be?
42 hours, that's the record.
There's been some late ones.
No more discussion?
Nothing for me.
Get a motion to adjourn?
Motion we adjourn.
I second the motion.
We're adjourned.
Do you always?